ease of life in terms of access to goods and services. Click of a button, we get something delivered to our doorstep. Why shouldn't rural people be seen as dignified customers?
Them distributors and sales folk to their own communities, and they earn revenue off it.
It was game changing. Today, everyone works on data. Everyone works on insights. Can you imagine I'm sitting with 100 million data points today?
What was your journey in that sense?
I mean, Aabha, you know this. And I mean, I think the audience is going to hear my American accent. Chase 20, 30, $50 million. Like I said, take as much as you need. I know this about you, so I'm going to say this also, is that like, we as women, what is our power? You see my face because I still think that we're just like, it's this versus what can be, right?
Hi, I'm Aabha Bakaya. I'm the founder of Ladies Who Lead. And today on the show, I have with me one of the most inspiring women you'll ever meet, Ajaita Shah, CEO and founder of Frontier Markets. And Frontier Markets is a company that's been making impact to the lives of women in rural India in a way that you cannot imagine. It's very exciting. And what's exciting about Ajaita in particular is she's someone that I've known since the start of her journey when she moved back from New York. She's a Jaipur girl, and how she chose to stay back in India and drive her vision. Do tune in. It's going to be a story that you want to hear. Ajaita, thanks so much for joining us. We're so excited. I'm so excited to have you on the show because I'm seeing you now after a decade. We've, of course, been in touch. And I'm seeing you literally on top of the world. Congratulations.
Thank you.
The Schwab Foundation Award for Social Entrepreneurship is something that is so prestigious, only given to like 16 global leaders. And you were one of them, 2 from India this year. You're also the only Indian, from Southeast Asia on the UN Trade Advisory Council, which is phenomenal. So you're clearly out there advocating for change and, making a mark on the global stage. I saw you at Davos this year as well. Talk to us about what is the clear message you're sending out today in terms of what your purpose is, what your mission is. You've come so far, Ajaita. You're already impacting the lives of millions of rural women, and we're going to talk about that. But if you had to articulate your mission, vision, purpose today, what would it be?
First of all, I'm super excited to be here, and it's awesome to just be here with you because I love you. So thank you.
Thank you
for having me here. I think the purpose has been very clear in my mind, which is that there's voices that are unheard. There's people that need to have a better quality of life, and they are the masses. So if we look at this in the context of the world, it's 7 billion people. Billion. And if you look at this in the context of India, it's still 800 million people, which is Bharat India. It's rural India. And I think my purpose has been, how do I elevate their voice to be seen, heard, and understood in such a way that their life changes because they get access to the quality services that they deserve, right? We've been around for what? I've been around for 40 years now. And I think about the evolution of our own ease of life in terms of access to goods and services. Click of a button, we get something delivered to our doorstep. Why shouldn't a rural household have the same? Why shouldn't rural people be seen as dignified customers or realities? And when you think about the number of 800 million, why are we not understanding it's a market? And so my purpose has been, let's shift the narrative of seeing people that are poor to become the influencers of change, the voices of change, and let's get them what they need to become the power of what we see going forward. And obviously, in this entire thing, I obviously believe that women have been the critical piece. My philosophy has always been invest in women, and exponential change and markets happen, and we'll get into that. But the vision I have is, can markets, can government, can civil society come together as one to start seeing the potential of the 7 billion? And today we start with India.
That's just phenomenal. It's such a, it's such a noble, but also I can see the fact that you're driven to make it happen. Already, I think you have a target of 100 million women to impact by 2030, and you're already almost there. You're very fast on track. Yeah. And I want to sort of also talk about the fact that this is a social entrepreneurship business. So it is profitable, and it's taken you a while to get to that. But before we get to the numbers, how do we do it? You've been doing this for about 15 odd years now, and I know you pivoted about 6-7 years in. But the crux of it is actually giving these women an app, and that makes them distributors and sales folk to their own communities, and they earn revenue off it. Have I done a good job of explaining?
Yeah. Beautiful. Like, yes. What? Oh, yes, Aabha. Like, amazing. Okay. Yeah.
So, but there's a lot of adaptation to be done here. I mean, to get into the villages, to find them, the conditioning, the training. Are they all on mobiles? Do we need to get them mobiles? Perhaps for the Sahelis, yes. Train them how to use that. You know, what was that process like? And I think, what was the hit factor? Because I know after your pivot, washing machines, I was reading in one article, items like washing machines, other than the other more functional things like pesticides, etc., are really what kicked things off. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that the hit factor in my mind is understanding women's power. What is really interesting is that we are lucky in India that the government and other like nonprofit sectors have built a beautiful network of 100 million women that are a part of the self-help group. It's an infrastructure, right? Where these women are collectives, they're in a group, they have their ID, they have a bank account. They are being told that they can leave their house and actually earn something. And they're passionate to make that change happen. I think for me, that woman has been the hit factor because, you know, when you're someone who's lived in a village your entire life, married at the age of 14, and now you're like 35 with 2 kids, but you're in that village, you know everything about everyone, right? Like, you know, we always say, I'm Charcha. Like, everyone knows the Charcha, what's going on, and she knows it the best. But what makes her powerful is also that she can, like, literally enter a house without even asking for an invite, right? That is big. She can ask a question that is intimate, that no one will second guess why she's asking it. But more importantly, when she asks the question, she can tell when the person's lying. And that is such an incredible reality that you understand of power of connectivity and connection. And I think for me, that was the hit factor. So yeah, we brought women onto our platform. Yes, they need a smartphone. And yes, internet connectivity is critical. But India changed that anyway, right? Like we've seen it. Like the smartphone penetration level is amazing. The challenge was when we weren't able to see why women should have that smartphone and where they can do more than just TikTok and YouTube hangouts and get entertained, but actually use a technology to earn money. And the power of her insights and her connection was game changing. Today, everyone works on data. Everyone works on insights. Can you imagine I'm sitting with 100 million data points today? Yeah. Do you know how lucrative it is to have like a Unilever understand why their detergent is not selling in rural India versus someone else? Like, or why like a woman still wants a Whisper sanitary napkin, or why, like it's incredible, right? So the washing machine example what we built was actually not an e-commerce platform to make her become a distributor. We said, how do we harness her power of influence, of trust, and of the nuanced ability to collect the right data, leverage that, and then make her become a problem solver. So yes, she makes money through sales, but she also makes money through insights. She makes money through delivery of training. If I look at the world today, people always want changes to happen in rural villages. COVID, healthcare crisis, climate change. Who's supposed to deliver these solutions in a rural village? And how does one hold someone accountable to be that trust vehicle? So that's her. And then the evolution has been that we realized that of the 100 million, there's 15 points. I love these numbers. They always like daunt me, right?
We love them too.
Right? 15.7 million small women businesses. Dukans.
That's a significant
That's
number.
a significant number. Dukans in rural villages, in areas where no one knows and sees and touch, right? And these women are going, how do I connect to this? she's become that. She's become an aggregator of change in a very different way. And of course, we can dive into it. But I think for me, the hit factor was understanding what makes her cooler than anyone else, trustworthy than anyone else. And I think it was like trust, accountability, and the ability to have the right kind of dialogue.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I think, but stumbling upon this
Yeah.
is a process.
Yes.
Right. And you also like took the entrepreneurial route. So did you have your own struggles raising funding for this, convincing people of it? Were you already on the right track?
Yeah.
So was it easy? What was your journey in that sense?
I mean, Aabha, you know this. And I mean, I think the audience is going to hear my American accent and go, what is an American accent girl doing to try to change rural India? And I've learned that my accent shifts over a period of time. Audience, I'm very good at reading and writing, speaking in Hindi. I promise you. See me in the village. But
I'm very impressed.
No, it was, first of all, I'm an accidental entrepreneur. It was never the intent, right? I grew up in New York, right? Like, I grew up in New York. I graduated from college. I mean, there's an entire other story around why I decided to come to India. But when I did, I dove right in headfirst around the microfinance sector. First time ever learning what a social business is. What does it mean to drive money and business and actually create impact? And I learned so much, and I just was utterly inspired, and then I was annoyed about the inefficiencies, and that's why Frontier Markets was started. But can you imagine a 25-year-old walking in front of a impact investor or anyone being like, I am here to change the way rural people are seen and access to services through women and systems. And they're looking at me going, why you? Like, you're 25.
Right.
And also, like, your accent is ridiculous. So therefore, why you?
They don't believe you.
They don't believe me. And so I went through that process. Luckily, I proved a lot of things when I was in the microfinance sector. I'd launched a lot of incredible partnerships that proved my own passion of change. But the struggle was huge, like from every moment. And also because, as you know, like, we didn't start out with like gender lens. We didn't start out with technology. This is rural India.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
10 years.
And people,
right?
I don't think people even believe that technology, I mean, everyone talks about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're talking 10 years ago.
Yeah.
People didn't actually believe that it would translate.
Ever.
Yeah.
Right? No one I didn't.
Yeah.
Right? And so people said, well, you're building a model to create this impact, but where's the business story? And how's that business story going to come? And to be honest, like during demonetization, when everyone was utterly scared about their future forward, rural India, you have to understand, is a cash world, right? With no technology. But we survived that, and that was the first time we became profitable. And so something to me, we did something right, which was the core. Listen to the customer, understand the market, be a delivery service provider in a certain way. And we just kept reacting. On the fundraising side, you know, I think maybe I'm equally the problem because I didn't chase 20, 30, $50 million. Like I said, take as much as you need.
Okay.
I'm a Marwadi at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like I'm a Marwadi. So hum dhanda jante hain. Like, you know, like we don't understand bahar se paisa.
Right. Yeah.
So like literally I'd go take as much as you need and then build and prove and then keep showing, and ultimately cash flows are cash flows. I probably should have been a banker when I grew up in life. I don't know.
Probably, Ajaita.
Probably.
Sounding like it.
Like
Sure,
something
yeah.
like it. But
And knowing you and all
yeah.
the work you've done.
Yeah. But the exciting piece was, I think, when the tech did come in. Because, you know, it's interesting when people ask me like, okay, well, you've seen rural India or you've seen India for 20 years. What do you know? I was like, people, I know a lot. Like I've seen transitions, but the tech boom was a game changer. The question we had to ask ourselves was, again, I'm at fault because I am not a tech person by any means. My team is not a tech person. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to mess this up. Like there's an opportunity and I don't understand it.
Right. That's something which a lot of, not just women, a lot of people would normally
A lot of people, yeah, you can't be the master of everything. But ultimately, when you're working in rural India, you have to solve like a lot of problems without even actually having an angle or a direction of what needs to happen. I will never forget during demonetization, I went straight to the Delhi government and I was like, ma'am, we're not going to name names, but ma'am, tell me what to do. Whatever you say, is it UPI? Is it Paytm? Is it whatever? What is the solution? Because I have like 2,000 villages with like 100,000 people that are wanting me to solve this problem because we promised them that we were settled Jivan. We were easy life. We were always going to be there to understand what their needs were and create it into a market opportunity. And they were like, we haven't quite figured it out yet.
I've been in these offices and it's very, very slow moving.
And I'm sitting there going, great. I'm going to go back to Jaipur and I'm going to say I have no answer. And then, so something kicks in, right? And this has happened now with demonetization, with COVID, with like, you know, like think about all the trends of things. But I think the tech piece was the game changer. We had 50, if not 100 Sahelis, our women entrepreneurs, come with us in a room and we said, all right, ladies, internet is here. You kind of have smartphones. What the hell should this tech be? Right? And they designed it with us. They designed it with us. Wow. That was the game changer, right? Like they were like, I want to now take my power and digitize it. I want to collect data. I want to learn things. I want to show things. I want to be the true settled Jivan Saheli.
How empowered are these women? This is so inspirational.
Yeah. I'm gonna do a shout out to Guneet Bunga because she's become my favorite person in life, and she just gave me a birthday video today, and I was like, she's met these Sahelis, so she's
today.
Just turned 40 last week. But she sent this video, and because she got a chance to see the field, and she met these women, and what she said to me, and I'm going to reiterate this, is that I have an energy and I have a power, but to translate that into these women who already have their own energy and power, but then give them that confidence. Oh my God, Aabha, they're utterly talwars. Like they're talwars. Like the biggest MDs of the world, of corporate worlds, unko suna diya hai. Like they know how to give their opinion. They know how they're not going to be subservient.
But this is just so mind-boggling because it just completely turns around. And of course, I know about the microfinance communities. Yeah. I have also met with them in villages, back in the day. As in, I've experienced that. But I think the narrative today is so inclined towards more how rural India and women in rural India are even further subjugated, perhaps for other gender issues that we continue to face, that I think we completely miss focusing on the fact that they're also driving their own commerce and enabling their families when it comes to economic growth.
I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. And I agree that, of course, there are other system level challenges that we need to tackle. But I'll give you one example, right? We work in Rajasthan and in UP, and we just started working in Maharashtra. But for me, Rajasthan and UP have become my playing field belt of like a very deeper sense.
And those are the
heartlands of the country. And let's be clear, the systems problems that you're talking about, very patriarchal, right? Parda is a thing,
100%.
And ghungat is a thing. But these Sahelis, like, they came from that, right? They were married before 14. And they are in their sasral, and they are today the pioneers of income and the influencers in their villages. But what is so powerful to me is that these 40,000 Sahelis have stopped almost 200,000 child marriages in their villages because they're like, maine ab seekh liya hai, right? Like,
that is happening at an individual
level. Like, मुझे पता है कि मेरी बेटी को खुद के कदम पे जीना चाहिए शादी से पहले, which means that they're basically saying like she has to stand on her own feet, be the right way. I need her to be educated. I need her to earn money. And this is all about the financial, power, right, that comes in. And they've done it for their own daughters, right? And now, in fact, this is why I'm excited about Future Forward, is that these women are saying, ki, if I've done it, why can't others? And everyone says the same thing. They said, how do I help? This is the Sahelis, 40,000 of them now, saying, how do I help my Sahelis, their friends, in their village, in their community, how do I help them also get elevated with their income? So they have the power to also stop the cycle, right?
Shows you the power of India.
It's the power of India. It's the power of India. It's the power of women. It's the power of impact, right? I mean, I always say, invest $1 in a woman, you're going to see exponential change, right? Versus the ecosystem of what we've been a part of. And yeah.
Because of the sheer volume as well, the volume and scale of the impact and the reach that you're having, which you're having through these women today, which is phenomenal in itself. But like you said, you're getting corporate giants to listen to them.
Yeah, because it's a market at the end of the day, right? And I think that to me has been the shift, right? And I love what you said earlier, because you're right. Like, you know, we've been so used to talking about women as beneficiaries or the problem that women have. And especially if you look at rural India, we talk about the challenges. But actually, it's the next billion market. It's the next billion. It's the next billion market.
And things are changing.
And things are changing.
No, it's interesting because I see a lot of corporate giants that are coming and trying to find a foothold into the Indian market, and they don't understand how to approach it. And of course, product categories and all are different, but they don't know how to approach this massive volume that's clearly there to play with.
I'll add another element to this, right? And this has kind of been my learning from Davos last year, which was that all these big giant corporates, global or domestic, fundamentally are recognizing their own impact responsibility, right? Which is why ESG has become a phrase, which is why we talk about corporate social responsibility. I mean, India, I think, out of anyone, has the most incredible system of that 2%, right? I mean, we're sitting on like 30,000 crores worth of like money that companies need to actually invest in to create impact as a mandate, which is amazing. I think, so there's a desire to not just be in a market, but actually create that change, which is really exciting. So what happens is, you know, when I go now to meet like any of the CPG or FMCG companies, right? You know, what is a big topic of mine? It's about plastics. It's about waste. It's about climate.
That's it everywhere at the moment.
Everywhere, right? And guess what? Rural India is the largest consumer. And so how do you design to refine?
That's so interesting.
Right? Yeah. And that is where I think the narrative shifts.
That's a huge shift, actually, in perspective.
Yeah.
If one were to look at it that way. And actually, if that capital was allocated responsibly, the kind of impact it could create is, I think we would hit some of those targets even faster.
Some of those targets, but also I would say that, because that's where my head works, I always say that like impact in business is the same coin, right?
Yeah.
And if we understand that it's two peas in a pod, even though they're so different, everything changes, because any challenge or impact is a business opportunity. Another
solving a need.
Yeah. So another amazing example I'll give is, you know, last year we announced this like amazing partnership with the MasterCard Center for Inclusive Growth and Airtel Payments Bank. And I remember when I was meeting Sunil Bharti, like he was like, Ajaita, I have just one vision, right? I just want banking services to be less than 15 minutes away as a walking system. And I said, and I looked at this in my own calculation. I said, but where does banking services need to be reachable? It's rural India. And, you know, and Airtel has been brilliant in creating its own infrastructure of banking services. But when we come in with the gender lens, it changes everything, right? We're able to help someone like an Airtel Payments Bank get access to a market that they otherwise would not see. If you are truly serious about 15 minutes being the least convenience of walking, that means that we need not 300,000 banking services, but we need 3.6 million banking correspondents. But ultimately, those women need to be seen and heard because they're trusted the most in terms of these services. And this is where I see the shift. I think that there's an opportunity for then an Airtel Payments Bank or a MasterCard or a Unilever, whomever, to say, I'm about to create amazing impact because I'm going to help women earn income elevation in a way that's so powerful. I'm also going to help bridge the divide in terms of the needs of the rural people, but I'm also going to make some money.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. And I think that to me is what is happening, and only India can demonstrate this, honestly,
I was
because
just
of our
thinking
numbers.
that. I said exactly.
Yeah.
It's a volume.
Yeah.
Look at the volumes.
Yeah.
And the other thing that you said about sort of business and impact going hand in hand, I think it's interesting because it's not just about catering to the underdeveloped part of the economy, but actually ensuring that you're triggering growth in some way.
Yeah, I believe that I'm hoping that we built some pathway to make that happen, and people start seeing, right? Because obviously it's not just about a frontier market story, right? It's not, and I think that's been my own evolution as a leader, to understand that it's not just me, it's about everyone, right? And how do we start thinking about this in like I call it 100-lane highway, where the goal is the same, which is Tarakki, Bharat, aspiration, leaders, change, right? But if you think about the different organizations and the different innovations that come in, how do we own our lane to come collectively together and make that happen? And I think that's been my evolution, right? I would say in the last 2 years, right? I see what I do now as more of a coalition effect. How do I bring partners together? How do I bring government together? How do I bring nonprofits together? How do I bring corporates together? How do I bring cool social enterprises that are creating the coolest innovation to reach the end goal?
Isn't it frustrating sometimes?
Yeah. Yes.
I'm like,
of course.
coming from a corporate background, I have no patience. I'm just I'm just trying to imagine what life's like for you,
I mean, okay, I know this about you, so I'm going to say this also, is that we as women, what is our power? Our power as women doing the work that we've done for so long is that we have this ability to process a lot faster.
Yes.
And we don't do it with one lens, right? It's like empathy, it's connection, it's all the things. But when you do it so fast, my joke was, I think a neurosurgeon should do a brain scan on understanding our synaptic ability of processing things a lot faster. Agree. And then you're right, then there's an impatience. I can't tell you how often I'm like, please get there faster. Please.
And then you have to wait for everyone else to
and
catch
everyone
up.
has to come on the same page. But ultimately, but that is also our power. That is your power. That is my power, which is that we're still recognizing that other people need to catch up. Yeah. And so, but our power is that we're able to bring them together.
Sure.
Right? And connect them in the right way. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And now you're doing that at a global level. Since we were talking about business and impact, I also want to understand, for frontier markets, how does the business work? Is it a commission from the all the conglomerates and the companies that are listed?
Yeah. So we essentially see us as a platform that connects products and services to people. So we've learned that there's 3 ways to earn money. Sure. One is, of course, anyone that uses our platform to sell goods and services to a market that they cannot otherwise reach, because we made it more cost effective, easier for them to access. We do curate. We very much curate because we're still sensitive to that rural market. But point is, whoever's worthy to get onto the platform, whatever sales happen, we earn a commission, Sahelis earn commission, the women earn a commission. The second level of revenue has been on data and insights, because actually we realized no one understands this market, right? We will never obviously expose a rural customer, but we also recognize that if you want to innovate and design differently, you do need insights, right? If you're an agri company and you're trying to do finance for women farmers, you need to know who a woman farmer is, right? And so we can make that happen, but also we want to get paid for it, right? And then I think the third has been around delivery of services, which has been more around the impact side.
Okay.
So today, I realized that, people do want quick responses to calamities, right? Whether it's climate, whether it's COVID, whatever it may be. We're a vehicle, because we really do touch the last mile and the efficiency with the tech and the women the way that we do. We can make it happen in millions, right? I can walk to someone going, do you want to create an impact for your agenda with 1 million families? We're happy to do it. Okay. So that is what has been exciting. I think most commerce companies, we've seen this historically, have never been profitable because it's hard, right? Distribution, logistics, the whole thing, margins are thin, all of that. We've heard all of this. I think we cracked a way to compensate, but we recognize that commerce is still the most important piece. Because at the end of the day, the rural customer says, thank you for bringing me a product to my doorstep.
Okay.
Right? And yeah, we've, numbers wise, I mean, 40,000 women entrepreneurs, 3.5 million families. I think we've sold almost 100 million units of goods till date. We've crossed like 1,000 crores, like in terms of what we do in terms of business, and consistently, thankfully, now profitable in a way that is exciting. But I think you see my face because I still think that we're just like, it's this versus what can be, right? So I'm like, how do I get that 40,000 to 100,000 to the 100 million, right? So that's all I think about now. But I think
you're clearly seeing a path to growth.
Seeing the path, to make it happen.
And I think that's fantastic. I think there's a lot that people are going to go away with from this conversation in terms of just understanding the scope and the opportunity in the rural market, and also to really take home what you said, I think, about business and impact coming together. Because at the end of the day, it is about solving a need. And I think while continuing to solve and find solutions at a very grassroots level, one does also have to keep in mind, that you're doing this and you have to be profitable at the same time in order to only drive and create further impact. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all providing a service, and because it's something that many people don't understand. Anything in the social space is expected to be an NGO or expected to be a charity, but there's a reason for it to be driven by business, because I think that just solves many things on all sides.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then the only other thing I would add is that there's another interesting trend that's happening, right? I think the philanthropic space, the CSR space, everyone now wants to understand what it means to be an impact investor.
Exactly.
And I think it's different for everyone. But I think what's been very clear is people want to see their money be leveraged to unlock money or unlock change or be sustainable or scalable. And these are phrases that are being used across like all the time. At Davos last year, we launched a gender equality fund, right? Which was India's big announcement with the Women's Child Development Department, DPIP, Invest India, CII. And it's exciting because there's something here, like I can feel it, right? In this particular country where we're ready to just blow up in a good way, right? And it just takes, I think, trust. It takes trust, and it takes, and this is why this has been fun, right? Because I'm like, what do I do with my 20 years of being here? Oh, right, now it's fun. I get to like hang out with friends and make real big things happen, in the right way.
It's a good space to be in.
It's a good space to be in, right? I feel like I'm sitting in my 40s, like, and it's only a little bit a week old, but I'm feeling good about the 40. And everyone's like, you're only 40? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, how have you had 20 years? I'm like, that's commitment. It's just been. Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Ajaita, I think it was really a privilege to get to sit down with you today, because I just feel you're such a driven, committed person. And I think someone with that kind of vision, as well as the passion to carry it through, is one in a million. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. I love what you do. So this was awesome. I mean, there's nothing more like fun than chatting and catching up. So thank you. Yeah.